I would say looks, power, status, money. Those are a lot of things that women think makes a man high value. So what actually makes a man high value?
How women have to understand, just because a man is in a successful place doesn't mean he's a successful person or he has a successful mindset. When you look around, most women do not end up with a man who is quote unquote high value. And you ask someone what they want, they're always gonna shoot for the stars. So not the fact that you're not the richest guy, but she has the most fun with you. People who haven't experienced enough of it are the ones that make the most noise about it. So it's like, if you're a woman who's never had a man with money, you may still make it a big deal. But women who have experienced that a lot, they start to realize that a lot of these men with money are still lame.
Yeah.
They're still not fun. They're still empty in a lot of different ways.
Being realistic with your standards. What truly makes a man high value?
Well, damn.
Yeah, I just wanted to get straight into it. Is the overly high value man standard holding women back from potential love?
All right, and we're saying the woman's desire, her standard for what is a high value man.
Yes.
Yes, it is holding, I will say this, it's holding a lot of women back. However, I think the internet has a way of making the minority look like the majority. All right? So I don't think the majority of women are as focused on that high value man as people think they are. And people are making it seem like. When you look around, most women do not end up with a man who is quote unquote high value, at least high value by definition.
Yeah.
He may be high value to her in how she perceives him, but to the world, he's not a high value man. So most people don't end up going for that or selling for that. But I think what we have to understand is that when you ask someone what they want, they're always going to shoot for the stars.
Right.
You know, if you say to someone, what kind of car do you want? They're going to say a Lamborghini, a Lexus, a BMW, whatever, right? But a lot of people end up with a Honda and they end up with a Camry. And that's just the reality of life.
Right.
So I think we're getting caught up in what people are saying on the internet, but we're not paying attention to how it's really playing out.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a close guy friend basically say he's been really insecure lately because he keeps seeing these women wanting these men right outside of college being like six figures or having these 7-figure jobs or just being this macho man. And he's like, I am just trying to make sure I get my foot in the door somewhere. And I can't provide this lifestyle off the gate for a girlfriend or for a potential wife. And I think right now he's feeling a little bit under the weather, like, where am I going to find my girl? And I'm like, you know what? There's more to life than these materialistic women who just think that's the all and be all with men, because there's so much more to a man than what he has to offer and, you know, him having all this money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think what a lot of men don't understand is that women are, they want the experience, all right? And so one thing I realized about women, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I noticed that like with women empowerment events, right? I'll ask a woman, how did it go? And when she gives me the rundown, it's, oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. They had these decorations and they gave these little things and the food was great. It's the ambiance, it's the experience.
It's always the ambiance. And I'm really glad that you said that, because it always gets me every time. I ask one of my girlfriends, you know, they go on a date with this guy that they've been raging about for so long. I'm like, how'd it go? She's like, it was great. We went to this really nice dinner. He picked me up in this really nice car. I'm like, so how was the date? Like, was he a nice guy? Like, what's going on
What
with
does
him
he have
as
to
a
offer outside of
person?
all of that?
Exactly.
It was always the materialistic things that came first.
So it's not the actual content, it's the experience of it all. So now here's the thing. If a man understands that, then he understands that if you can provide an experience that makes a woman feel good, she starts to overlook some of these other things. So now the fact that you're not the richest guy, but she has the most fun with you, it starts to override that desire. There's a lot of women who want rich men, who even have men in their DMs offering them money, and they still end up with the broke guy. All right? But the broke guy might be more fun. He might have more swagger. He might have more masculine energy. He has other things that kind of compensate. And so again, what people say they want, but what people actually end up with is two different things.
Right.
Yeah.
I could speak from experience because I actually was not dating, but I went on a lot of dates, and I even was, you know, went on 2 vacations with an individual who had a lot of money. And, you know, recently I chose someone who he doesn't have all that. And I had more fun with him. I'm like, I had a good time with you, and like I posted about it. It looked good on Instagram, but I had more so a lot of fun with the guy that didn't have all of that behind closed doors, and I didn't even have to post about it because it's like I'm actually enjoying my time with you. Like I'm enjoying your presence more so like than what I'm posting. Being here or being there.
Exactly.
So I understand that.
So I think one of the main things for me that I feel like drives a lot of women to believe that the high value man is all those materialistic, superficial things is social media and the groups of people that you surround yourself with. Like if you have a bunch of girls that are around you that are on, as you would say, like hot girl, they're on their hot girl stuff right now. And they're out and about, they're like on the scene. They're like, you need to be with this kind of guy, or they're going to constantly reprimand you for the man that you are with that might not have it all. I mean, at least that's some of the girls that I've come in encounter with.
Yeah, I mean, and that exists. And I think one of the things I was thinking about is how people who haven't experienced enough of it are the ones that make the most noise about it. So it's like, if you're a woman who's never had a man with money, you may still make it a big deal. But women who have experienced that a lot, they start to realize that a lot of these men with money are still lame.
Yeah.
They're still not fun. They're still empty in a lot of different ways. So now she doesn't value it the same. It's the same thing with men who have access to a lot of beautiful women. It's like, yeah, you still value beauty, but when you start to see that so many women can be beautiful but still have nothing else going for them, now you start valuing some other things more. And those people don't make a big of a deal. It's still important to a certain degree, but they're willing to be more flexible in those areas.
Yeah.
I remember being somewhere and I was just like, I'm not having a good time, but my dinner is nice and this is really good for the Instagram story, but I cannot seem to connect with people who I don't connect with. And if he doesn't have it all, then I'd rather be with someone who doesn't have all the glitz and glam than be with someone who has it all. And I feel like I'm empty on the inside still, laying at bed at night like this doesn't feel right to me. So it definitely been a lesson I've learned within my dating experience over the past probably 4 years.
Yeah, so I would say looks, power, status, money, those are a lot of things that women think makes a man high value. So what actually makes a man high value?
So I think it depends on how so the problem with the whole high value discussion is that the word value being attached throws everything off, because now what each individual finds valuable can vary. All right? So to me, I think the proper label is highly desirable man. And a highly desirable man tends to be the rich, the status, the power, because that's what women are drawn to. So, but just because he's highly desirable doesn't make him actually a good man. Right. You see what I'm saying? Doesn't mean you're going to actually be happy with him. So now I think what women should be looking for, what should be their version of high value, so to speak, is just someone to have a connection with. Someone that they can talk to, someone that they can be themselves with. Yes, I do think that men should strive to be providers and protectors and all these different things, but I think if the connection is there, we can work through everything else. I think attraction has to be there, you know what I'm saying? And just shared values. So it's more of the core foundational things that should be there. And again, some things are gonna vary from woman to woman, depending on what specifically is important to you. But as long as that's there, that's what you should be focusing on.
Yeah, I came from this toxic relationship 2 years ago. I wouldn't say I had a very superficial mindset, 'cause I definitely kind of knew in the back of my head and heart what kind of guy I was looking for. And then I realized that guy was not what I was looking for at all. His looks definitely attracted me. And as I've gotten a little older, I've moved past that. Like the guy that I'm currently dating now, like I had this really crazy, well, it's not that crazy. I feel like a lot of women are like, he has to be a certain height. And I didn't want that to get in the way of what we had, because like I feel so special when I'm with him. He's just such a great guy. I'm like, that's how I want to feel with my partner, not how any other guy who has all those materialistic items has made me feel. Because even though like he's like in his mid-20s, so like he's still working towards his goals, as am I, and I don't have all the things in the world. So why would I ever expect my man, who he has to have this, that, and the third, when I can't really match that? And it's not that I have to, but it's like I shouldn't have these crazy, absurd expectations when it's like we're all just trying to work and better ourselves as individuals. And, he compensates in so many other areas as well. Like he meets all of my standards, I just had to realize like maybe some of those things that I'm reaching for aren't really what I need in my life.
When you guys first started dating, I had a very shallow mindset. I'm like, but what about the NBA guy that likes you, or the NFL player that likes you? And you're like, I'm over it. I don't want that. And I really do see like why you are with the person that you're with, because there's so much more than someone who scores a touchdown or makes a basket and a goal and like looks good on the court. Like, you really like this man for who he is outside of all that other stuff that was being presented to you by a plethora of dogs.
Yeah, and I see a lot of women and men on the internet posting all of these photos and videos and just everything that you would want in a relationship, but it's not actually beneficial for either party because they're not happy. So
and they're posting moments.
Yeah,
they're not
it's
posting
moments.
the consistent environment. It's almost like, it irks my nerves when I see like a celebrity post a picture with their kid and everyone's like, he's such a great dad. It's like, it's one picture. What do you mean? Like, you don't know how he is with this child on a consistent. He literally may have went over the house, took the picture, and left.
And I will 100% stand on that, because I had a friend who told me, who knew like this athlete, and I think he had a few kids, but what he does is they would like stage all of these pictures with his child, and then he would post them on the internet later to make it appear as if he's spending all this time with him, just because outfit changes and scenery changes. I'm like, that's insane.
Yeah, but and that's what people do, and so they do that whether it be parenting, whether it be relationships, whether it be acting like they're making money. Social media is fooling so many individuals, and they get caught up in these moments and highlights, but they're not focusing on what's the overall picture looking like.
Well, I found I've been very surface level on social media. I only post, not always. I mean, that's why you have close friends. But, for the public, I post my best moments, my happiest moments. And there's been times where I'm like, I just cried the night before, and this is not really where I'm at or how I feel spiritually or emotionally. I'm not that happy in the situation with this particular guy, all because, maybe he has this, then the third. But like I was saying earlier, there's just still that empty void in my heart where it's like, this doesn't feel right, and that's why I'm still single.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we have all these expectations for men, but what would a man think that a high value woman is? I don't want to keep placing too much pressure on the word value.
Yeah, understandable.
I had a friend ask me, like, what does a high value man want in a woman? I guess that pertains to like, what do you think a high value man is? But what's your thoughts on that?
It's still tricky because this whole high value, and the crazy thing is, like, I think most of us know that the high value term regained popularity through Kevin Samuels. You know what I'm saying? Like, it existed before him, but it regained through him. And then he had an actual definition for high value man. Unfortunately, I never heard the actual definition for high value woman. But one of the things that I always believed it to be, so if we looked at high value man as the man who was the most desirable, like across any kind of society and community, this type of man is going to be viewed as highly desirable. So it's like, okay, then what kind of woman consistently across different communities and cultures is viewed as highly desirable? And this is going to sound bad, but I think it starts with beauty. Beauty is the thing that opens doors for women. You know what I'm saying? As long as you're extremely beautiful, you're automatically highly desired. You know what I'm saying? Now, does that truly make her valuable in a relationship? No, that's not enough. Does it play a role? Yes, but it's not enough. So I think what a man values in a woman, and what a high value man or a highly desirable man is going to want in a woman, is going to be beauty. It's going to be feminine energy. It's going to be a willingness to not just be beautiful, but continue to take care of herself and look good for him. Is a woman who's going to know how to bring him peace. You know what I'm saying? And just not be a burden on his life. Not be an extra stress. Be someone who helps relieve his stress. And I think, like, that's really the main thing, because if he's high value and we allow the whole financial part to be there. So let's just say he's a very successful man. So money's not an issue to him. So he doesn't need her to be successful, a hustler, all that stuff. He just needs her to complement his life in a way that makes it easier for him.
Never thought about it like that. You're right. A lot of beauty standards open up doors for so many women. Like, I've seen the whole pretty privilege thing be a major phenomenon over the years, even different body types and stuff. So that does play a huge role in that.
So would you say it's okay? So if a man has the standard, the woman has to be beautiful first, or have to be attracted to her, is it a bad thing that a woman wants a guy who could also, like, financially, like, take care of her in a sense if that's what she's looking for.
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think society needs to stop fighting the realities of how we're wired. Women have wanted men with resources since the beginning of time. This has never been different, all right?
Okay, everybody tap in.
You know, and men have wanted women who were beautiful since the beginning of time. Why are we fighting our natural desires? It is what it is.
Do you think it's just some guys' egos just get a little hurt knowing that they might not be able to meet her standards?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. So people are mad because the people that they want require what they can't give.
Wow.
That's it.
It's so funny. I was talking to one of my guy friends the other day about this topic, and he was like, "Well, if I don't have the money, the status, and the car, how am I going to get the girl that I want?"
See, and the girl, it's the girl that he wants. There are tons of women who will take a man who has nothing, but he doesn't want that girl. The same way there are tons of men who will take a woman that isn't the most beautiful, but she doesn't want that guy. See, so they're mad because the ones they want have a certain standard. And of course, if you're a desirable, the more desirable you are, the more options you have, the higher your standards tend to be. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like, yo, if I have a master's degree, I'm not entertaining jobs paying me minimum wage.
Yeah.
Why?
You know your worth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know I can get better. So most people who say, well, I don't need this, I don't need that. Not everyone, but some of them, you can't get it anyway. That's why you don't need it. Like, you're rationalizing it and validating it because it's not really in your reach. You know what I'm saying? So I just think people need to accept that, yeah, there's nothing wrong with a woman wanting that. There's nothing wrong with a man wanting that. I just think that if you desire this, then it's not just about what you want. It's what you're prepared to give.
Okay.
So if you want that man with money that's successful, can provide, okay, cool. Are you prepared to pour into him the way that he needs? You know what I'm saying? You want that beautiful woman and feminine and all these things. Okay, are you prepared to pour into her the way that she needs? If yes, all right, get to work.
Yeah, I have this one friend. She's like, I don't care if my standards are unrealistic to this person or that person. I know how I was raised. I know my values are, and I'm not gonna settle for anything less. And I do respect her for having these very like high standards because I feel like, you know what, if that's what you've set the bar, you can't go any lower, and you're going to meet someone where they're at, because she's a very high value woman herself. But like you said, there's just people have to stop nitpicking and being like, this is that, this has to be this way, this has to be that way, because we're always going to be in a frenzy over these.
But what does she want? Is it the materialistic and the power and the status, or
Probably.
does she want love? Because if she wants love, she might have to start paying attention to that instead of all those other things.
I think she wants both, but I also feel like too, love always, in my heart, I feel like love always draws or drowns all that out. Like, no matter what, you might have all these things. Love is what women truly desire in our nature. Is like, that's just what I think people truly want. But I really can't speak for her. So
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, I have my standards. People say I have high standards, but I feel like I kind of meet in the middle with what I want versus what I actually need
But I
or
also think
deserve.
people place what their standard of what you want on you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I did that at one point, and you were like, "Hold the phone."
Yeah.
And I definitely do see where you were coming from. Like I was saying earlier, it definitely kind of helped me to see and be more open minded than being more surface level as to what I thought you needed or what I
Yeah.
thought you would look good.
Because I
with.
feel like people are always going to have something to say about,
Yeah.
who you're with. You could be with the best guy in the world, but I feel like somebody will always have something to say. So I do think it's
Absolutely.
really important to just find somebody that makes you genuinely happy within.
Yes. And the key is, again, understanding the difference between what you want and what you need.
Yeah.
So I do think people's wants are getting in the way of them finding love and having healthy relationships. So it's almost like you want this big house. You don't need a big house though. And for a lot of people, once they got the big house, they realize that like it's big, it has too much space. I can't fill this whole thing up. I don't even use half the rooms in this house anymore. This was a waste because I thought in my head this was important. But the reality is that no, I just need a space that's comfortable, that has the things that I need, and I can have peace in that home.
Right.
So it's like sometimes we have to learn the difference and understand that wants can change, needs are consistent, and it's focusing on those needs that will allow us to have healthier relationships.
Yeah.
I've also seen too, there's women that have been with men for, over a decade or 15, 20 years, and that man was not 6 figures, 7 figures, but he became that. But he values her and he loves her because she actually was with him in the times where he's like, you know what, let's build together, opposed to him having all these things in the now. And I think that's why a lot of girls are like, well, I'm going to have this, or I'm going to have that. But a lot of these men, especially out of college, don't have those things unless it's mommy and daddy's money. So I've just been able to kind of dissect a lot from an outside perspective.
I will say in the woman's defense that I think some of these men, when they say, well, the women should build with us, it's like you're not really putting in the effort that shows her you have that level of ambition. So my thing is, you can't just try to build with every guy, because some men are not wired to want more. They're wired to do enough to get what they desire, and then they're good. So it's like, okay, if I have the woman I want, a house, I'm being fed, I'm having sex, I'm good. I don't need more. So it's like if he's working at a job making 70 grand, to him that might be where he's happy. All right. But if she has dreams of him making 200 grand and thinking, okay, well, I can build him and work with him. No, he's not wired like that. So a man has to understand, all right, you have to show her you have that in you, that you're that ambitious, that you're going to take initiative in the way that you need to. And then, yes, I think with that kind of man, a woman can be patient with him and build with him. But building with him means you are supporting his actions and his efforts, not you're doing it for him.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you said that. One of my girlfriends, he was supposed to be this, really big athlete, and it didn't work out for him. And now he's kind of just in this state of mind, like he's just chilling. And I said to her, I'm like, what's his next step? He needs to take that next step now, because she's making more money than him now. And I'm like, what is your plan? Like, I don't want you to have to take care of him. He promised you all these things, but he can't give you that now. And he's not really the best partner. So I was just kind of stuck in, like, it didn't really seem like he was wanting to push to do more because he didn't achieve the goals that he intended to. So now he's just in a very complacent place right now.
And that's another reason. That's a perfect example of how women have to understand, just because a man is in a successful place doesn't mean he's a successful person or he has a successful mindset. All right. There's a lot of athletes who they push hard in sports because that's all they know. All right. And that's their way to make money. But they're not naturally driven, ambitious guys. Again, they're just trying to get by in this talent that they have. But that's why once that's gone, there's a stat, I forgot what it is, but there's a high percentage of athletes after going pro that go broke after like 3 years because they're not wired to now say, okay, what can I do next? They don't have that drive naturally. So a woman can't just look at, oh, he has money or he's set up to get money. It's, does he have the character to make sure he will provide for us no matter what happens?
Yeah.
And I even think, going back to the ambition thing, I grew up in sports. My father's a football coach, college football coach, and a lot of the women that I've seen that are now in these prominent, at these prominent schools, they were with their husbands when they were GAs, grad assistants and stuff. But that man, like you said, he had the ambition, whereas sometimes these guys, they don't have the ambition. They're just like, oh yeah, I want to be a rapper one day. And it's like, okay, but what are you really doing to be a rapper?
Exactly. And that's the thing, exactly. Like, we clown people always want to be rappers, but it's like, okay, if you say you want to be a rapper, why aren't you in the studio every day?
Exactly.
Why aren't you writing hundreds of songs? Why aren't you networking and making connections? So I don't want to hear you want to be a rapper. I need to see, what are you actually doing to pursue this? You know what I'm saying? And even then, do you have the mindset that says, if push comes to shove, I will make sacrifices to make sure I can provide and create a stable environment?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of girls, they choose unstable environments just because of the picture perfect what if or what could be in the future.
Exactly.
And it's not sustainable.
The fantasy.
Yeah.
That's really unfortunate. But I really want you to give some traits and characteristics that a woman needs to look for in a man that is at least going to be a good man to her. I don't know. I pay really close attention to character, how they treat me, how they treat the people around them. What are some traits that a woman needs to hone down on that probably would put her in a relationship that'll keep her happy for the longevity?
Well, I think first, it's not even a trait. It's just trusting your intuition as a woman. I always say women know that man wasn't it after the first conversation or after the first date.
So Stephan had this show yesterday, and they were talking about how you kind of know when a guy's not shit after the first date. And I was like, you know what? I remember that. I felt that in that moment with previous guys that I've dated. I'm like, I don't really know, but I'm just gonna give it a try and see if it works
Exactly.
out.
Painted the red flags white. I'm like, you know what? This maybe you could be better
cute.
for a date. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And that's where a lot of women get themselves into trouble. So it's almost like before you try to evaluate him, get in tune with yourself, get in tune with your spirit, learn to trust your intuition. Because I've never met a woman whose intuition was wrong. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, I just never came across it. All right. So I think once you now use the intuition, if we go into character things, like you said, it's about how he treats other individuals. It's not just how he treats you. How does he treat people in general? All right. Because if he treats people poorly in general, but treats you well, that poor treatment will come back to you at some point.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right. You know what I'm saying? It's just an act he's putting on for now because he wants to reel you in. So it's about his overall character. I think it's also, again, does he show the ability to think for himself? You know what I'm saying? Can he come up with a plan for himself? Does he present a vision? There's nothing wrong with him getting your opinion and your input. That's a great thing. But can he formulate something on his own? You know what I'm saying? Because if he can't, this is a guy who hasn't gotten in tune with himself yet. He doesn't know where he's going in life. And so how can he, even if he's ambitious, how can he apply that ambition if he doesn't know where he's headed? You know what I'm saying? I think also the willingness to communicate and just being willing to talk to you and being willing to be open with you. Because when a man actually likes you and is actually interested, he becomes a little bit more open. Some may still struggle for various reasons, but he's at least willing to try, you know? And I think the other big thing is the women make a huge mistake of expecting the man to get it right on his own rather than understanding people are going to make mistakes. People aren't going to always know what you like, what you want, all these different things. So to me, the key deciding factor is how does he handle after you give him the correction? So if, let's say, for example, he's texting you so much and you're like, some women are like, oh, grown men should know they can't be texting all the time. So they'll cut the guy off. Never tell him what's going on. But you don't know if the last 5 girls he dated love text. So he doesn't know that text is an issue for you. So now that you express it to him, how does he handle that? Does he correct it? Does he make excuses? Does he make you seem like you're the crazy one? That's what's going to tell you if this guy is genuine or not.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for breaking it down.
You're welcome.
Wow. That was very insightful. I enjoyed hearing that. So I guess, pick your poison, ladies. It's up to you. Do you want a man with status, money, power? Or do you want to look a little deeper within and see if
And I
there's-
want to throw something in there, not to cut you off,
No,
but
you're fine.
I had a little VIP dinner, and one of the ladies was saying how she's always attracted to these men of status and power. But one of the issues she's come across is that they tend to have more options and they tend to not want to be monogamous. And I think that that's something that a lot of women, they do have to consider. They have to understand that the average highly desirable, high value, whatever man tends to be a man who wants to enjoy multiple women.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Just had a friend. She's talking to a really big football player right now, and she's really upset because she's like, "I thought it was just me and him." I'm like, "No offense. How did you think it was going to be just you and him? Like, he's one of the biggest right now." So I don't know. I just think a lot of women definitely do have these, like you said earlier, little these fantasies, but you have to be sometimes willing to compromise if that's what you're really wanting.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And it's totally about what's most important to you. Now, I will say it doesn't mean all quote unquote high value men are like this. There are some that want monogamy, can be faithful. I have seen in my experience that the difference between those men tend to be their spiritual belief and what their relationship with God is. That tends to be what kind of keeps them in check and say, no, I just want one woman. And some guys are truly wired to just want one woman and they're good, but a woman does have to understand what kind of man are you dealing with? And is that something you're willing to accept or not? And if not, okay, cool. Then maybe we go just another level, not lower in a sense. Like, I think people think that means, oh, you're telling them to settle. No, I'm telling you to find where you're going to be happy. You won't be happy with that guy doing that.
So do you think this is a conversation that women should be having with a man prior? Because, sometimes you meet a guy who'll be like, yeah, it's just you. it's all only you. And then it's like you find out later there was like 5 other girls. So it's like, how do you distinguish?
But some
that?
girls need to read the room with certain men. I feel like maybe I sound shallow. I don't know, but I just feel like sometimes with the cards that you're dealt with.
But that's not fair.
True.
Because again, what if he's that guy that isn't like that?
You're
And I
right.
wouldn't want her to project that. So I do think there should be a conversation.
You're right.
I do think,
idea.
you know, let's just be real about it. There's no reason to act like we don't know that this is a reality for a lot of people. So let's not hide behind it. Let's not run from it. Let's just discuss it flat
Yeah,
out.
I don't think there's anything wrong with, you know, having an open relationship or, you know, having multiple girls, but at least just be honest about it. So that way you're not letting people down and hurting people's feelings in the end.
Exactly.
I'm gonna think about that now.
Yeah. I'm going to send this to all of my friends.
I know,
Everybody's
okay.
going to need
Send that
to
to her after this.
Everybody's going to need to tap into this because I felt it was really insightful and I enjoyed hearing everything that you had to say, Stephan. It was amazing. But we did want to go ahead and wrap this up. This was very insightful, and check out our next episode coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you.